Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody. I figure we can never get enough on boundaries. I get asked these questions so often. It comes up weekly at the least, sometimes even daily. So I want to talk a little bit more about boundaries. I know I've talked about them on a few other podcasts, but it's time again to talk about boundaries. So for some of you, this is a refresher, but others might be the first time you're hearing this. So I just want to talk about not only how we set a boundary, but what's really important in setting a boundary. So the first thing I want to say is, in order to set a boundary, you have to know who you are and what your beliefs, values, morals, and your needs are. And so many of us don't know what those are. So we've got to get really, really clear. So if you're setting boundaries, let's say with your kids, I hear these flimsy boundaries with parents quite a bit. And I'll ask them, well, what time do you want your kids to be home at night? Well, I don't know. What do you think? I'm like, it doesn't matter what I think. What do you think? What do you want? What's true for you? Well, I kind of like midnight. Okay, well, you've got to get really, really, really clear on, again, what your beliefs, values, morals, and needs are, in order then for you to know when someone is violating a boundary of yours. But that's our starting point. Is it okay if someone raises their voice at you? Is it okay if, let's say, you're around people that are drinking? Do you like alcohol? If you don't like alcohol, you might not want to be in that environment, even if it's so-and-so's birthday party. What's true for you? What's okay with you? Do you like Mexican food? Do you like to be around animals or dogs? If someone has a dog and you're really, really not okay with dogs, perhaps you don't want to be at so-and-so's house. But again, what I find is we oftentimes betray ourselves and we put other people's beliefs, values, and morals and needs above our own. So then we don't set boundaries, and we're giving ourselves away when we do that. So, and I'm not inviting you to be rigid with your boundaries, of course, but there's some very basic things that we have to understand about ourselves. What are our needs? We're not great at learning what our needs or knowing what our needs are. And by the way, speaking of boundaries, most of us are not great at setting boundaries. So please do not beat up on yourself if you're not great at boundaries. This is a topic that comes up so often. Most people did not get a very good training with boundaries. Or if they did have boundaries when they were growing up, they were ultra rigid, which again made them shy away from boundaries, and it's scary. So boundaries are such a healthy thing. It's how we teach other people how to take care of us. They don't know. I don't care if you've been married for 60 years. It's still our job to take care of ourselves and to speak up for ourselves. It's a very, very healthy part of who we are. It's healthy. It's what we do in our adult chair. If we don't know how to set boundaries, we're going to learn. And this is how we're going to do it. Number one, getting in touch with who you are, what your beliefs, values, and morals are, and your needs. You've got to know those things. So you can have fun with this. You can write it down. You can just spend time daydreaming about it. But it's important that you know what's okay with you and what's not okay with you. So that's the first thing. And if you've taken the adult chair event with me, and for those of you that haven't, I just want to share this with you. You know, we have this beautiful energy field that's around us. It's about 2 feet outside of us. And within this are all these beliefs, values, morals, and needs that are floating around. But in class, you've probably seen me take my hands, and if I put my fingertips together out in front of me, it's as if I'm holding a big bouncy ball. or a big ball. Draw a circle around you 2 feet outside of you. This is where all these beautiful needs are sitting. So get clear about those. And the boundary would be like the outside of my arms. If you can imagine, again, this, that I'm holding a ball and my fingertips are touching out in front of me. So inside is my responsibility. It's my responsibility to know who I am, so then I can set a boundary. Okay. But the boundary would be my arms all the way around me in a big circle. Okay. 2 feet outside of me. So we've got physical boundaries and then of course these emotional boundaries, but sometimes people are standing too close to us. We want to take a step back. Sometimes when we're sitting and having a conversation, if someone's getting heated, we need to take a step back. What I really want you to understand is these boundaries and you knowing who you are is your responsibility. It's part of living in our healthy adult chair. Okay. So if someone violates or crosses a boundary of ours, we have to speak up about it. It's our job to do that. And this is where people say to me again, and I know I've said this many times, I'm saying it again, but I'm not confrontational. I don't want to set a boundary. Boundaries are not confrontational. I'm not asking you or inviting you to get in an argument with anybody. I'm inviting you to take care of yourself, to take care of all of your beliefs, values, morals, and needs. It's your job. Don't put it on anybody else. It's not their job. It's your job to speak up for yourself. Is it scary if you've not done it before? Of course it is. More than likely, yes. And that's okay. But in the first few times that you set a boundary, you might be a little bit stumbly and not so great at it. It's okay. Just please do this. Don't try, do it. So again, a boundary teaches other people how we want to be treated. Remember, no is a complete sentence. So if someone says to you, hey, would you like to go do this with me? Or hey, how about we go over here? No. You can say, no, thank you. You can say, hey, I appreciate the invite, but I'm busy. Thank you so much. But remember when you set a boundary, do not get too wordy. Oh my goodness. Do not get wordy because people get lost in the weeds. People have no idea what you're talking about when you say things like, hey, I appreciate the invitation. Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to go to that play for years. You know, Hamilton is one of my favorites. You know, my husband went and my mother went and my so-and-so went and I so-and-so saw them in Broadway and blah, 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 blah. And somewhere in there you squeeze like, yeah, but I just can't go. And the person listening to you is like, what are you trying to say? I just want to know if you want to go to Hamilton with me. And if you're telling them all of these things because it's that uncomfortable, they don't even know what the heck your boundary is, which is, no, thank you. I'm busy. I can't. Period. That's the end of it. Stay out of the weeds. I call these things bullet boundaries, okay? Bullet point boundaries. Bullet point your boundaries. Short, sweet, concise. Shorten it down. I work with people all the time on this. Shorten the boundaries down because we go into all these excuses and these extended apologies about why we can't go. People don't need that. Just say it. Like I said, some people are really scared to do this or they're uncomfortable. Do it anyway, because I promise you this, it will get easier as time goes. You got to start somewhere though, you guys. Okay. Maybe you don't like people that raise their voice. And if you're in the room with them, one of the things we do is, by the way, I want you to know this. Setting a boundary does not mean all the time that we are speaking up for ourselves to someone else. If someone, let's say, is really loud or they're raising their voice or they're being confrontational with someone else in the room and Michelle feels uncomfortable. So if I'm uncomfortable, my job is either I speak up and set a boundary or I'm going to remove myself. That is also a boundary. A boundary may have no words. A boundary could mean I'm removing myself. If someone's being rude to me, I might walk away. If someone's being abusive, you know what I'm going to say, you guys? I say it all the time. Get the heck out. Do not stand for that ever, not even ever, ever, ever one time. Get out if someone's being abusive. If someone is belittling, I'm going to hang up the phone. Or I'm going to walk away. That's also a boundary. Again, How are you taking care of yourself? It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility. Now, some of us may have problems with this. Very specifically, we codependents, okay? I don't like labels, but you know what I'm talking about out there. This was my problem. I didn't ever learn how to set healthy boundaries. And when we are codependent or have codependent tendencies or traits, we don't know where we stop and start. Because if I'm codependent, I'm something that's called enmeshed, which means I'm blended with you. So if you think about, again, these beautiful energy fields that we all have, if you're living and breathing on the planet, you've got this. Even if, whatever, I'm not going to go there, but you've got an energy field. But let's say if I'm with you, I'm more worried about you. So I take my energy field and I merge it with yours. That's what enmeshment is. So my beliefs, values, and morals and needs are out the window, and your beliefs, values, morals, and needs are more important. They become mine. And I make it my job and my responsibility to take care of yours before, by the way, you even know you have any sort of needs. Okay? That's codependency. So it's difficult for us, and this was difficult for me when I was learning how to set boundaries because I didn't know if I was being codependent or loving and caring. So we have to learn how to separate ourselves. And this is why I say the first step to all this is to get really, really, really clear about who I am. What are my needs? Not yours, not my kids, not my husband, not my mom, not my sister, not my cousins, my needs. We're not good at that, you guys. If we are codependent, we're more worried about everyone else's needs outside of ourselves. So as codependents, we have to learn how to pull back, which is uncomfortable because then we don't know who we are. We lose our identities. We're like, well, who the heck am I going to be if I'm not taking care of you and everyone else around me? I don't know who I am. This is so important if you have any codependency traits going on inside of you to pull back. Okay. And start learning, where do I stop and start? Who am I? Who's Michelle? Where's my external boundary? What are my beliefs, values, morals, and needs? What are mine? Start making lists, start journaling, start thinking about these things. Because when we're codependent, we just don't know. When we're codependent, we have to get comfortable with the uncomfortableness of not fixing or suggesting our stellar ideas with others. Because all of our ideas are the best. We have the answer, we have the fix for everyone outside of us. We have to stop that. And that's hard for us. But I promise you, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And the more you then will learn what yours are. It almost feels like we're betraying other people when we start focusing in on our own beliefs, values, morals, and needs. In fact, I've had many people say to me that are recovering from codependency, well, isn't that selfish? Heck, no, it's not selfish. It's healthy. It's healthy. If I don't know who I am and what my beliefs are and my needs, then I can't expect you to know them. It's my job. It's my role as a healthy human that lives in my adult chair, by the way, to know what these things are for myself. So we start pulling back when we're codependent, get that person out of remember the 2-foot barrier around me? Get them out of my internal boundary state, get them out and let them be on their own. And then I'm going to be uncomfortable, probably, and sit in it. That's how we heal and transform codependency. I've got to get comfortable with the uncomfortableness. That's what we need to do with codependency when it comes to setting boundaries, okay? Okay. Again, I want to say this. Most of us are not trained in setting healthy boundaries, so please be easy on yourself. Please, nobody listening to this should be beating up on themselves. This is the game of life. We're learning how to do this. It's okay. I want to encourage you to not expect others to know your boundaries. I don't care, again, how long you're married. I don't care how long so-and-so has known you. They've known me my whole life since I was in kindergarten. They should know better. Absolutely not. No, that's not true. Because the more in sync and connected we are with ourselves, by the way, the more our beliefs might change, our values might change, our needs and morals are changed. The more, again, we're growing and evolving all the time. All the time. So we cannot expect anyone else to know that about us. We just can't. This is true for me. I grew up with a lot of alcohol in my home with my extended family, a lot of drinking. And I realized, in my mid 40s, I started realizing, I don't really like to be around people that are drinking all the time. That was not true for me until my mid 40s. I was like unconscious about it, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, whatever, they're drinking. But the person I am today, I sit here and I go, I don't like it. So now I very freely speak up about it. I don't want to be around people that are getting drunk. It's just not fun for me. It makes me uncomfortable. Doesn't feel good. So now I either remove myself if that's happening, or I don't participate in events where that's going to happen. There's my boundary. That's it. So don't expect others to know my boundaries. I just don't do that. So people that might now invite me to parties, I'm like, I'm not interested in that anymore. Thank you. We cannot expect others to know. All right. It's not their job. Again, I'm trying to give you another example here. Even my husband this morning said to me, especially with the stock market, which is on such a darn roller coaster right now, and it's very stressful. He said to me something like, well, you got to be careful with the stocks that you're buying and selling because you have a tendency to be really emotional and sell. And I sat with it after he said that to me. And I sat with it. Again, I reviewed it with myself, with my own beliefs, values, needs, and morals, and the person I am today. And I sat with it. I'm like, that's not true. That was true. That was true many, many years ago, but that's not true for me anymore today. I'm really solid with what I decide to invest in, and I hold it and blah, blah, blah. I'm not perfect, but I'm much better than I was many years ago. So I shared that with him. And I said, you said to me that I have to be really careful because I'm too emotional with the stocks. And I said, I just want you to know, please don't assume that that's who I am anymore. That's not who I am. Please don't say that. And he said, well, you do that. I said, no, I don't. That's who I was 21 years ago. And that was true 21 years ago because I used to play the stock market when my son was first born for the first year of his life, and he's 22 now. I don't do that anymore. I've learned a lot over the years. So I was able to set a boundary. I said, when he said it to me, and this is why we have to know who we are. We run it through our own body, through our system, and we say, how does that feel when so-and-so said that or when so-and-so did that? That's then when we have the opportunity to say, I don't like how that felt. Do I need to remove myself or do I need to say something? So in this case, because I do not want him to say that to me anymore, because that's not my truth, I spoke up about it. And it was perfect. And he says, oh, yeah. I said, let me tell you what's true for me. And I told him. And he said, oh, thank you. I won't do that anymore. I said, fine. And it was over. Moved on. Because, by the way, I didn't react. I didn't say, why would you say that about me? I can't believe you said that. That's not true anymore. No. We set boundaries, you guys, from our adult chair. I was paced. I was calm. I was again, bullet pointed boundaries. Please don't say that. That's not true. Here's what's true today. He didn't react. I didn't react. And it was over. From the adolescent chair, I might have said, I can't believe you said that to me. Why would you say that? That's so rude. That's not who I am anymore. That's not what I did, though. That's reacting to someone. From our adult chair, we respond. And I responded in a very paced way. I was very balanced and calm. I was like, that's not true for me. Now, by the way, I hope you heard me say this. It took me a few minutes. He made this statement. I walked away. I was getting ready. and something felt off. My stomach had tightness. I'm very in tune with my body. I've learned to stay very connected to myself. And if it feels off, I've got to figure out what is that. So I get curious, which we do from our adult. And I said, this isn't sitting well with me. I don't like that he said that. I'm going to let him know what's true. And it was over, you guys. That was it. So stay in your adult with setting boundaries. Let me talk to you a little bit about how, again, we set boundaries. But again, don't expect others to know how you feel and what your beliefs, values, and morals are, because things change. I changed, okay? When people say to me, they should know better. No, wait, no, they should not. We're changing all the time. And it's not their job to take care of you. It's your job. So here's a very basic way to set boundaries. Remember, what do you feel? So I feel blank. So I feel hurt when you blank. I feel blank when you blank. There's your boundary. Please don't do that again. I feel hurt when you said that to me. Please don't say that again. Or I feel hurt when you did that. Please don't do that again. Done. That's the boundary. And people will read your energy. If you are in the adolescent chair and you're coming from a place of defense when you are setting a boundary, guess what? They're going to come back at you from a defense. And then it turns into a confrontation or a battle. I'm not looking for a battle. I'm just trying to teach you who I am. That's it. Now, sometimes when you're in your adult chair and you're being very much in balance and coming from a calm place and you set a boundary, I've heard this with maybe mothers that are coming over too much or whatever. It could be with anybody. Like if I'm someone that has, small children and my mother keeps popping in and it's irritating my husband, I need to set a boundary and ask my mom not to come over so much. So if I say that to my mom, hey, Mom, would you mind calling the next time before you come over? We just want to be better prepared and ready for you, period. My mom might say, well, I can't believe you need me to call. I thought we were family. And then Mom gets all defensive. I know this happens. I know you guys are thinking this already. It's okay. Your job, by the way, is to stay in your adult and go, nope, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying, Mom. I love you to death. I just was wondering if you can call next time. You've got to maintain yourself. Do not slide into your adolescent chair just because someone else is in their defense across from you or whoever you're talking to. Stay in your adult. Stay balanced. Stay connected to your truth. Remember, what's in your internal boundary space of your beliefs, values, morals, and needs. So if it's true for you, you don't want your mom to do this, your brother to do this, your sister, your whomever, then you state it from a very balanced, connected place. There's a good chance that they will then match you. And then they will be able to join you in their adult. Not all the time. And sometimes I have to abandon my boundary because people might get upset. I hear this happens too. So if they get upset and they can't deal with it, then you just have to say, okay, well, all right. Then maybe you just have to distance yourself from that person. If that person yells at you and gets abusive, I'm out of here, by the way. You better leave or hang up the phone. Nobody talks to you in that way. Nobody treats you in that way. Absolutely not. Ever, ever, ever. You know my stance on that. But I still say this. Be in your adult. When you set your boundary, just make it bullet point boundaries. Remember, short, sweet, and concise, to the point, not with any weeds. Stay out of the weeds and all these apologies and excuses that are going into the boundary. People get lost. Very short and sweet boundaries. That's it. State your boundary. Hey, would you please do this? Or, hey, no, I so appreciate you inviting me, but I can't today. Thanks anyway. Period. End of story. Short, sweet, and concise. Okay? All right. There's your boundary review, you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always reading what happens on social media. So come on in and give me some comments on this. And I'm happy to answer as many questions as I possibly can. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, all over the place. But if you have questions, go ahead and ask them there. And the Adult Chair Closed Group is a beautiful place for that as well. So I hope this is helpful. It's a very some very basic and concise ideas on how you can better set boundaries. But remember the takeaway. Do not beat up on yourself if you're not great at this. All that I'm inviting you to do is to start doing this, start learning this for yourself. No more betraying yourself. This is about a self-loving process that we're doing here in the adult chair. And we're all learning this together. So be easy on yourself, but please do your best and do set those boundaries. Okay, you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. This has always been it's always a pleasure to sit with you every week. I will see you seated next week right here in the adult chair.